Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the ECS Horizon and watched the stars through the main screen. The ship had been traveling for 6 months since leaving Earth orbit, and this was the farthest any human had ever gone from home. Jake felt proud but also nervous because they were about to make contact with alien life for the first time in human history. Dr. Lisa Carter walked up to Jake and showed him her data pad. She was the best scientist on the ship and had been studying strange signals they picked up 3 days ago. The signals came from a large fleet of ships that were heading their way. Lisa believed these ships belonged to an advanced alien civilization, Lieutenant. Alex Rodriguez checked his weapon systems one more time. He was young but very skilled at his job. Alex hoped the meeting would be peaceful, but he wanted to be ready for anything. Engineer Kate Sullivan was in the engine room making sure everything worked perfectly. She knew they might need to run. If things went wrong, the alien ships appeared on their screens, and Jake felt his heart beat faster. There were dozens of massive vessels that looked like nothing humans had ever built. Each ship was 3 times bigger than the horizon and covered in strange blue lights. The ships moved in perfect formation like they had done this many times before. A communication signal came through their systems, and the main screen showed an alien face. The creature looked like a giant insect with 4 eyes and sharp teeth. Its skin was dark green, and it wore what appeared to be military clothing. When it spoke, its voice was deep and scary. "I am War Commander Thexol of the Zephyrian Empire," the alien said. "You will identify yourselves and explain why you travel in our territory without permission." Jake stepped forward and tried to sound calm and friendly. "I am Captain Jake Morrison of the human exploration ship Horizon. We come in peace from the planet Earth. We did not know this was your territory, and we mean no harm." Thexol studied Jake for a long moment. "Humans," he said slowly. "We have heard legends of your kind, but believed you were extinct. Our ancient records show humans as a warrior species that must be destroyed." Lisa moved next to Jake and spoke quickly. "There must be some mistake. We are explorers and scientists, not warriors. We only want to learn about the galaxy and make friends with other species." The alien commander laughed, but it sounded more like a growl. "All warrior species say such things before they attack. The Zephyrian Empire has ruled this galaxy for thousands of years by eliminating threats before they grow strong." Alex whispered to Jake that weapons were being charged on the alien ships. Kate reported from the engine room that she was ready to jump to hyperspace if needed. Jake knew they were in serious trouble, but he tried to keep talking. "Please give us a chance to prove we are peaceful," Jake said. "Let us meet face to face, and we can show you that humans want friendship, not war." Thexol seemed to consider this for a moment. "Very well. You will come aboard our flagship with 2 companions. But know this human captain. If you try anything suspicious, you will all die, and we will hunt down every human ship in space." Jake agreed and chose Lisa and Alex to come with him. Kate would stay on the horizon and be ready to escape if the meeting went badly. The 3 humans took a small shuttle over to the alien flagship, which was called the Death's Edge. The inside of the alien ship was dark and cold. Zephyrian soldiers escorted them through long corridors filled with weapons and war machines. Jake realized these aliens lived for fighting and conquest. They reached a large room where Thexol waited with other alien officers. "Before we talk," Thexol said, "you will witness what happens to species that oppose the Zephyrian Empire, the Main." Screen showed space outside where a beautiful white ship was floating peacefully. Lisa gasped when she saw it because the ship clearly belonged to another alien race. Dozens of small beings with blue skin could be seen through the windows. They looked scared and helpless. "These are Kalari," Thexol explained. "They tried to establish a colony in our space without permission. Watch and learn what defiance brings." The Zephyrian ships opened fire on the Kalari vessel. Jake watched in horror as the peaceful aliens were destroyed without mercy. The white ship exploded in a ball of fire, and all the innocent beings inside died in seconds. Lisa started crying, and Alex put his hand on his weapon. Thexel turned back, to the humans with satisfaction. Now you understand the price of challenging Zephyrian rule. You humans will share the same fate, unless you surrender your ships and submit to our authority. Jake felt anger building inside him, but he tried to stay calm. We will never surrender to murderers who kill innocent people. Humans may be new to space, but we are not cowards. The alien commander smiled, showing his sharp teeth. Then you have chosen death. Guards take them to the prison cells. They will be executed publicly as an example to others who might think about resisting our empire. Zephyrian soldiers moved toward the humans. But Alex was ready. He pulled out his weapon and shot 2 guards while shouting for Jake and Lisa to run. The 3 humans fought their way back toward their shuttle while alarms rang throughout the ship. They barely escaped as Zephyrian fighters chased them back to the horizon. Kate had the engines ready and they jumped to hyperspace just as enemy weapons started firing. They were safe for now, but Jake knew this was only the beginning of a war that would decide the fate of humanity among the stars. News of the human encounter spread through Zephyrian space faster than Jake Morrison had expected. Within days, every alien commander in the Empire knew about the warrior species that had dared to reject Zephyrian authority. Supreme Admiral Vextor received the report while commanding the 3rd Imperial Fleet from his massive battleship, called the Galaxy Crusher. Vextor was the most feared military leader in Zephyrian history. He had conquered 47 star systems and destroyed countless species that refused to bow to the Empire. When he read about the humans, his 4 eyes glowed with excitement. Finally, he had found an enemy worth fighting. Mobilize the entire 3rd Fleet, Vextor commanded his officers. I want 2,000 ships ready for total war. These humans will learn why the galaxy fears Zephyrian might. The Admiral studied intelligence reports about human capabilities. Their species had only 12 ships in deep space and a few small colonies on distant planets. It seemed impossible that such a weak race would challenge the Empire, but Vextor knew that warrior species could be dangerous if allowed to grow strong back on Earth. President Maria Gonzalez sat in the emergency meeting room with Admiral Frank Turner and other military leaders. The message from Captain Morrison had arrived 3 hours ago, and everyone was trying to understand what it meant for humanity. The aliens had given them 6 months before the attack fleet would arrive at human space. How many ships do we have? President Gonzalez asked Admiral Turner. The old military commander looked tired as he gave his report. Earth's entire space navy consisted of 200 ships designed for protecting the solar system, not fighting interstellar wars. Most of the vessels were small patrol boats with basic weapons. Dr. Lisa Carter had sent detailed scans of Zephyrian technology from the horizon. Their ships used energy shields that could stop most human weapons. They had plasma cannons that could destroy Earth ships with one shot. Worst of all, they possessed faster-than-light communication systems that let them coordinate attacks across vast distances. Admiral Turner spread star charts across the table and pointed to human colonies. We have 6 major settlements beyond Earth and maybe 50,000 people living on other worlds. If the aliens attack all of them, we cannot protect everyone. President Gonzalez felt the weight of responsibility on her shoulders. She had to find a way to save humanity, but the odds seemed impossible. What about evacuation? She asked. Can we bring everyone back to Earth? Not in 6 months, Admiral Turner replied. We don't have enough transport ships, and some colonies are too far away. Besides, running back to Earth just means we all die in one place instead of many. While leaders on Earth planned their desperate defense, Captain Morrison and his crew continued gathering intelligence about their enemies. They had rescued the navigation computers from destroyed Kalari ships and learned about Zephyrian military tactics. The aliens always fought the same way, using massive formations and overwhelming firepower. Kate Sullivan worked day and night, modifying human weapons to penetrate alien shields. She discovered that rapid energy pulses could overload Zephyrian defenses for short periods. It was not much, but it gave human ships a fighting chance in close combat. Commander Nick Thompson commanded the exploration vessel ECS Defiance in a distant star system when he received orders to begin guerrilla operations against Zephyrian targets. Nick was a veteran pilot who had spent years flying dangerous missions in asteroid fields. He understood that humans could not win through direct confrontation. Thompson gathered the other human ships in deep space and explained their new mission. "We are going to hit supply convoys and isolated outposts," he told his captains. "The aliens expect us to fight like they do, but humans are different. We will be fast and unpredictable." The first human raids surprised Zephyrian commanders who had never faced guerrilla warfare. Thompson's ships would attack cargo vessels, then disappear into asteroid fields before enemy reinforcements arrived. They destroyed fuel depots and communication stations, causing confusion throughout the alien supply network. Commander Elena Vasquez led the science vessel ECS Discovery on scouting missions to map Zephyrian territory. She was amazed by the size of their empire, which controlled thousands of star systems. But Elena noticed something interesting about alien behavior. They followed strict military procedures and rarely changed their tactics even when losing. "They fight like machines," Elena reported to Admiral Turner. "Every attack follows the same pattern. They don't adapt or improvise the way humans do. If we can exploit their rigid thinking, we might have a chance." Dr. Carter analyzed captured Zephyrian equipment and made another important discovery. The aliens had not improved their technology significantly in hundreds of years. They relied on overwhelming numbers and superior firepower rather than innovation. Human scientists might be able to develop new weapons faster than the enemy could respond. Meanwhile, Supreme Admiral Vextor grew frustrated with the small human raids. He had expected the warrior species to gather their fleet for a glorious battle, but instead they struck like cowards from hiding. Several of his commanders suggested sending patrol ships to hunt down the human vessels. "No," Vextor decided. "We will not waste time chasing a few scouts. I want the entire Third Fleet to advance on Earth immediately. Once we destroy their homeworld, the scattered ships will surrender." The Zephyrian armada began moving toward human space, carrying enough firepower to sterilize entire planets. Vextor planned to make an example of humanity that would terrify other species for generations. He did not realize that his predictable tactics were exactly what human planners had hoped for. Back on Earth, Admiral Turner worked with engineers to convert civilian ships into makeshift warships. Factory workers labored around the clock, building new weapons and armor plating. President Gonzalez addressed the planet, explaining that humanity faced extinction but would not surrender without a fight. "We may be outnumbered," she told the watching billions, "but we have something our enemies lack. We have the courage to stand together against tyranny. We have the strength to fight for freedom even when victory seems impossible." As the months passed, human preparations intensified. Mining ships were converted into missile platforms. Passenger liners became troop transports. Even luxury yachts received weapons and armor. Every human in space volunteered to fight, knowing they faced almost certain death. Captain Morrison continued his intelligence-gathering missions, learning more about Zephyrian weaknesses. The aliens communicated through rigid command structures that broke down during unexpected situations. Their ships were powerful, but slow to maneuver. Most importantly, they had never lost a major battle and were overconfident about their abilities. The countdown to war continued as both sides prepared for the battle that would determine humanity's future among the stars. Commander Elena Vasquez was running silent through the outer rim systems when her sensor operator detected something unusual. The ECS Discovery had been mapping Zephyrian territory for 3 months when they found a hidden space station that did not appear on any Imperial charts. Elena decided to investigate despite the danger. The station was built inside a hollow asteroid and seemed designed to avoid detection. As Elena's ship approached, several small vessels emerged to intercept them. These ships looked different from Zephyrian designs with sleeker lines and strange energy signatures. Elena ordered her crew to prepare for contact but kept weapons powered down. Unknown vessel. "This is Ambassador Kethra of the Taurian Republic," came a voice over the communication system. "You are in restricted space. Identify yourself immediately." Elena felt excitement as she realized they had found other aliens who were not part of the Zephyrian Empire. "This is Commander Elena Vasquez of the human exploration ship Discovery. We come seeking allies against Zephyrian oppression." There was a long pause before Kethra responded. "Humans, we have heard rumors of your resistance to the Empire. Follow our ships to the station, but know that any hostile action will result in your destruction." The hidden base was much larger than Elena had expected, with docking bays for hundreds of ships. As they landed, Elena saw beings from dozens of different species working together. The Taurians looked like tall reptiles with golden scales, while others resembled various Earth animals, but walked upright and wore clothing Ambassador Kethra met Elena and her crew in the station's main conference room. The alien leader was impressive, standing over 7 feet tall with intelligent eyes and ceremonial robes. Around the table sat representatives from many species that Elena had never seen before. "Welcome to Haven Station," Kethra said. "This is the secret capital of the Taurian Republic, a confederation of species that survived Zephyrian conquest by hiding in the Galactic Rim. We have existed in secret for 200 years. Elena could hardly believe what she was hearing. "You mean there are others fighting the Empire?" "Not fighting," Kethra corrected. "Hiding. The Zephyrian Empire is too powerful to challenge directly. We survive by staying invisible and helping refugee populations escape imperial expansion. No species has ever successfully resisted Zephyrian military might." A blue-skinned alien named Silthera spoke up from across the table. "I am a Kalari navigator. My people tried to resist the Empire 50 years ago. The Zephyrians destroyed our entire civilization, except for a few thousand survivors who escaped to this station." Elena felt anger rising as she remembered watching the Kalari ship being destroyed. "That's exactly why we have to fight back. The Zephyrians will keep killing innocent people until someone stops them." "But you cannot stop them," another alien said. "Your species has maybe 200 ships. The Empire has millions. Mathematics alone makes victory impossible." Dr. Lisa Carter had sent Elena detailed technical specifications of Zephyrian weaknesses discovered during human raids. Elena shared this information with the Taurian scientists, who were amazed by human ingenuity. No one had ever thought to exploit the aliens' rigid tactical thinking. "Your people fight in ways we never considered," admitted Veltar, the chief Taurian engineer. "But unconventional tactics alone cannot overcome such massive numerical superiority. You need better technology." Elena proposed a partnership between humans and the Hidden Republic. "We can share our tactical innovations while you help us develop new weapons and defenses. Together we might have a chance." Kethra was skeptical but agreed to limited cooperation. Taurian scientists had been studying Zephyrian technology for decades and had developed some interesting countermeasures. They showed Elena plans for adaptive shield systems that could deflect plasma weapons and stealth devices that could hide ships from Imperial sensors. Meanwhile, Captain Jake Morrison received orders to attempt a rescue mission at a Zephyrian prison world called Kethvar Minor. Intelligence reports indicated that thousands of alien prisoners were being held there, including survivors from species the Empire had conquered. Admiral Turner believed rescuing these beings might provide valuable allies. Morrison assembled a small fleet of human ships, including the Horizon, the Defiance, and several converted cargo vessels. Commander Nick Thompson would lead the assault while Morrison coordinated the evacuation. It was extremely dangerous, but they needed information that only Imperial prisoners could provide. The prison world was heavily defended with orbital platforms. and patrol ships. Thompson used hit-and-run tactics to draw the defenders away while Morrison's team landed on the planet's surface. They found massive detention centers filled with beings from dozens of species among the prisoners Morrison discovered. Silthara's sister Kalari, who possessed detailed knowledge of Zephyrian fleet movements and communication codes. She had been a navigation officer on Kalari ships before the Empire destroyed her people. Kalari agreed to help humans in exchange for rescue. The evacuation was more difficult than planned because there were so many prisoners. Morrison made the hard decision to prioritize those with military or technical knowledge while promising to return for others. As they prepared to leave, Zephyrian reinforcements arrived, forcing a desperate fighting retreat. 3 human ships were destroyed during the escape, but they managed to rescue over 2,000 alien prisoners. Many of these beings had valuable intelligence about Imperial operations. More importantly, word of the rescue spread throughout Zephyrian space, inspiring hope among oppressed populations. Back at Haven Station, Elena worked with Taurian engineers to develop new weapon systems. They created something called jump torpedoes that could emerge from hyperspace at close range, bypassing Zephyrian shields. The technology was experimental, but showed promise in computer simulations. Dr. Carter arrived at the station with additional human technical data and was amazed by what the Taurians had accomplished. Working together, human and alien scientists made rapid progress developing countermeasures against Imperial technology. They also began planning coordinated resistance operations. The Empire has never faced organized rebellion, Kethra explained during a strategy meeting. Individual species have resisted, but always alone and always unsuccessfully. A coordinated uprising might succeed where single species have failed. Elena sent messages to human resistance cells throughout the galaxy, sharing Taurian technology and coordinating attacks. Small-scale rebellions began breaking out on Imperial worlds as oppressed species found new courage. The Zephyrians suddenly faced conflicts on dozens of fronts. Supreme Admiral Vextor was forced to divide his forces to suppress these uprisings. But this only made the rebels more bold. Commander Thompson led combined human and alien forces in raids against major Imperial installations. Each success inspired more species to join the growing resistance as news of rebellion spread Emperor. Zarthek himself took notice. The ancient ruler had never faced serious opposition during his 1,000-year reign. He ordered Vextor to abandon the pursuit of Earth and instead crush the rebellion before it grew stronger, but it was already too late. The spark of human defiance had ignited fires of revolution across the galaxy. Species that had suffered under Zephyrian oppression for centuries finally saw hope for freedom. The final battle was approaching, and this time, humanity would not face the Empire alone. 6 months after first contact, the massive Zephyrian fleet appeared at the edge of human space near Neptune's orbital stations. Supreme Admiral Vextor commanded over 2,000 warships arranged in perfect formation like a wall of death advancing toward Earth. The sight was both terrifying and magnificent. As the alien armada prepared to destroy humanity, Admiral Frank Turner watched the enemy approach from his command ship ECS Liberty. He had managed to gather 300 human vessels, including converted civilian ships and allied vessels crewed by rescued aliens. The odds were still nearly 7-1 against them, but Turner felt proud of what humanity had accomplished. In such little time, Lieutenant Alex Rodriguez had been promoted to Fleet Tactical Coordinator after proving his skills during the Prison World rescue. He stood beside Turner studying the approaching enemy formation. "They're using standard Imperial attack pattern 7, Alex reported. Just like our intelligence predicted, Dr. Lisa Carter was aboard the science vessel ECS Newton coordinating, with Taurian allies who had sent 50 ships to help defend Earth. She watched her instruments as the enemy fleet closed to weapons range. Zephyrian shields are active and their plasma cannons are charging, she announced over the fleet communications system. Captain Jake Morrison commanded a squadron of fast attack ships, including the rebuilt Horizon. His job was to penetrate the enemy formation and target their command vessels. Morrison felt nervous but determined. as he prepared his pilots for the most important battle in human history. "All ships, this is Admiral Turner," came the voice over fleet communications. "Today, we fight not just for Earth, but for every species that dreams of freedom. The enemy expects us to fight like they do, but we are humans. We adapt, we improvise, and we never surrender." The Battle of Neptune's Gate began when Zephyrian heavy cruisers opened fire with their massive plasma weapons. Beams of superheated energy reached across space seeking human targets. Several Earth ships were destroyed in the first volley, but Turner had expected this and ordered his fleet to scatter. Alex Rodriguez implemented something called pattern chaos, which abandoned traditional formation fighting. Human ships began moving in seemingly random directions, using their superior speed and maneuverability to avoid enemy fire. The Zephyrians had never seen such chaotic tactics and struggled to target the fast-moving human vessels. Commander Nick Thompson led a group of converted cargo ships against the alien right flank. His vessels looked harmless, but were packed with jump torpedoes developed by Taurian scientists. As Thompson's ships approached the enemy formation, they suddenly jumped to hyperspace for a few seconds, then emerged at point-blank range. The surprise. Attack worked perfectly as dozens of torpedoes struck Zephyrian heavy cruisers before their shields could adjust. 3 massive enemy ships exploded in brilliant fireballs, while others suffered critical damage. Thompson's ships immediately scattered before the aliens could respond effectively. Morrison's fast attack squadron darted between the giant alien dreadnoughts like insects attacking elephants. His pilots targeted weapon systems and shield generators, using rapid-fire tactics that confused Zephyrian defensive computers. The human ships were too small and fast for the massive alien weapons to track effectively. Commander Elena Vasquez led a mixed force of human and alien ships against the enemy. Left flank. Her vessels included Taurian stealth ships that could become invisible to Zephyrian sensors. They appeared suddenly among the alien formation, causing panic and confusion as Imperial commanders lost track of their attackers. The battle raged for hours with neither side able to gain a decisive advantage. Human ships used hit-and-run tactics, while the Zephyrians tried to form organized battle lines. Vextor grew increasingly frustrated as his carefully planned attack dissolved into chaotic individual combats. "These humans fight like madmen," complained one of his subordinates. "They ignore all proper military doctrine." "That is exactly why they are dangerous," Vextor replied. "Order all ships to converge on their command vessel. If we destroy their leadership, the rest will collapse." Hundreds of Zephyrian ships turned toward Turner's flagship, but Alex Rodriguez had anticipated this move. He ordered human vessels to form a protective screen around the Liberty, while Allied ships created diversions elsewhere. The resulting battle became the most intense fighting. Of the war, Jake Morrison saw the enemy converging on Admiral Turner and made a desperate decision. Leading his squadron directly toward Vextor's massive battleship, the Galaxy Crusher Morrison hoped to eliminate the alien commander. His small ships faced overwhelming firepower, but they had speed and determination. The Horizon and 5 other human vessels managed to penetrate the enemy defensive screen through sheer audacity. Morrison's ship took multiple hits and was critically damaged, but he pressed on toward his target. Kate Sullivan worked frantically in the engine room, keeping their damaged systems running. "Jake, the ship won't take much more," Kate called over the intercom. "Hull breaches on 3 decks and main power failing. Just get me close enough for one good shot," Morrison replied as he lined up on the alien flagship. The Galaxy Crusher was 10 times larger than the Horizon, but Morrison had learned that size was not everything in space. Combat, at the last possible moment, Morrison fired every weapon his ship possessed directly into the Galaxy Crusher's command section. The massive alien vessel shuddered under the concentrated assault, and critical systems began failing. Vextor's bridge was destroyed, and the Supreme Admiral died along with his senior staff. The loss of their commander threw the Zephyrian fleet into confusion. Without Vextor's leadership, the alien ships began falling back to regroup. Turner seized the opportunity and ordered a general advance by all human and allied forces. The momentum of battle shifted as the attackers became the defenders. Dr. Carter coordinated the final phase of the battle from her science ship. Human vessels equipped with captured Zephyrian weapons joined the assault, while Taurian stealth ships struck from unexpected directions. The rigid Imperial formation dissolved as individual alien captains made independent decisions. Commander Thompson led the pursuit as damaged Zephyrian ships tried to escape. His forces destroyed dozens of fleeing vessels while capturing others, intact for intelligence purposes. Among the prisoners was War Commander Thexale, whose flagship had been disabled during the chaotic fighting. When the battle ended 18 hours after it began, the space around Neptune was filled with wreckage from both fleets. Human losses were catastrophic, with over 200 ships destroyed and thousands of brave souls lost. But they had achieved the impossible by defeating a superior enemy through courage and innovative tactics. Admiral Turner surveyed the battlefield from his damaged flagship. Nearly 800 Zephyrian vessels had been destroyed or captured, representing the worst defeat in Imperial history. More importantly, they had proven that the mighty Empire could be beaten by determined resistance. "This is just the beginning," Turner announced to the surviving fleet. "The enemy will send more ships and we must be ready. But today we showed the galaxy that humans will not bow to tyranny." News of the victory spread rapidly through both human and alien communication networks. Oppressed species across the galaxy celebrated, while Zephyrian commanders worried about their empire's future. Emperor Zarthek himself was reportedly furious and began mobilizing every available ship for a final campaign against the human rebels. The Battle of Neptune's Gate had ended, but the war for galactic freedom was far from over. The victory at Neptune's Gate had cost humanity dearly, and Admiral Frank Turner knew they could not survive another battle like it. Earth's fleet was reduced to fewer than 100 operational ships, while intelligence reports showed Emperor Zarthek mobilizing over 10,000 vessels for his final assault. The odds had become even worse than before. Dr. Lisa Carter worked desperately with engineer Kate Sullivan to develop new weapons that might give humanity a fighting chance. They had captured several intact Zephyrian ships during the battle and were studying their technology for weaknesses. What they discovered changed everything they thought they knew about the alien empire. "Look at this," Carter said, showing Sullivan the data from a captured Imperial computer core. "The Zephyrians don't just communicate through normal channels. They have an artificial intelligence network called the Eternal Hierarchy that controls all major fleet movements and resource allocation." Sullivan studied the technical specifications with growing excitement. "This AI system manages everything from supply deliveries to battle tactics. If we could somehow disrupt it, the entire empire would lose coordination." Carter explained that the hierarchy had been created thousands of years ago by the first Zephyrian emperors. It was designed to ensure that the empire would never fall, even if individual leaders were killed or planets destroyed. The system had worked perfectly for millennia because no enemy had ever possessed the technology to challenge it. "The AI follows rigid programming that cannot adapt to unexpected situations," Carter continued. "It's incredibly sophisticated but also predictable. If we could introduce a virus into the system, we might be able to cause empire-wide chaos." Meanwhile, engineer Kate Sullivan was working on an even more desperate plan. With Earth's fleet destroyed, conventional warfare was no longer possible. She proposed converting human space habitats into massive kinetic weapons that could ram Zephyrian capital ships. It was essentially a suicide mission, but might inflict significant damage. Admiral Turner listened to both proposals during an emergency war council. Converting space stations into weapons would require evacuating millions of civilians, but might be humanity's only chance for revenge. The AI virus plan seemed impossible because it required infiltrating the most heavily defended system in the galaxy. We need more intelligence about this hierarchy network, Turner decided. Someone has to get inside Zephyrian space and find their central command facility. Kate Sullivan volunteered to lead the infiltration mission using captured alien ships to avoid detection. Her team would include rescued Kalari navigators who knew Imperial space routes and Taurian computer specialists who understood advanced AI systems. The mission was extremely dangerous, but represented humanity's last hope. Sullivan's makeshift fleet consisted of 3 captured Zephyrian vessels disguised as routine patrol ships. The crew included human volunteers and alien allies who all understood they would probably not return alive. They carried the virus program that Carter had developed based on captured Imperial technology. The journey into Zephyrian space took several weeks as Sullivan's team avoided major shipping lanes and military installations. They posed as Imperial forces, conducting routine inspections while secretly gathering information about the hierarchy network. The disguise worked better than expected because most aliens never questioned official-looking orders. Captain Jake Morrison had survived the Battle of Neptune's Gate, but his ship, the Horizon, was too damaged to repair. Instead of taking a desk job, Morrison volunteered to command the final assault fleet that would accompany Sullivan's team. His force consisted of damaged human ships and converted civilian vessels crewed by desperate volunteers. "This is probably a one-way trip," Morrison told his assembled captains. "We're going into the heart of enemy territory to attack the most important target in their empire. Some of us might make it home, but most of us won't." The plan required perfect timing and incredible luck. Sullivan's team would infiltrate the hierarchy's central node while Morrison's fleet created a diversion by attacking Imperial installations. If everything worked, the virus would spread through the AI network, causing system-wide failure. Dr. Carter had discovered that the hierarchy's main computer core was located on Kethvar Prime, the ancient capital world of the Zephyrian Empire. The planet was protected by thousands of defense platforms and the largest fleet concentration in Imperial space. Getting close enough to upload the virus seemed impossible. Meanwhile, Emperor Zarthek himself arrived at Kethvar Prime to personally command the final assault on Earth. The ancient ruler had never lost a major battle during his 1,000-year reign and was determined to crush human resistance completely. He brought with him the Imperial Guard fleet containing the most advanced ships in Zephyrian space. Admiral Turner made preparations for Earth's final defense, knowing that conventional tactics would not work against such overwhelming odds. He ordered all remaining human ships to implement Sullivan's kinetic weapon plan. Space habitats throughout the solar system were evacuated and rigged with rocket engines to serve as massive missiles. "If we're going to die, we'll take as many of them with us as possible," Turner announced to his officers. "Every habitat, every asteroid, every piece of space debris becomes a weapon. We'll turn our entire solar system into a death trap." The countdown to humanity's last battle began as both sides prepared for the confrontation that would determine the future of galactic civilization. Sullivan's infiltration team reached the outer defenses of Kethvar Prime while Morrison's assault fleet prepared to create their diversion. On Earth, President Maria Gonzalez addressed the planet for what might be the last time. "We have fought bravely against impossible odds and shown the galaxy that freedom is worth dying for. Whatever happens today, our children will remember that humans never surrendered to tyranny." Kate Sullivan studied the massive fortress world ahead of her disguised ships. Kethvar Prime was covered in cities and military installations with orbital rings containing millions of defensive weapons. The hierarchy's central core was buried deep underground, protected by layers of shields and armor. "This is it," Sullivan told her crew over the intercom. "Once we start the attack, there's no turning back. Everyone knows what to do." The Kalari navigator Silthara plotted a course through the orbital defenses while Taurian specialists prepared to upload Carter's virus program. Morrison's fleet waited at the edge of the system ready to begin their Suicidal assault on Imperial installations. Emperor Zarthek sat on his throne aboard the super dreadnought Eternal Dominion, watching reports of human movements. He was puzzled by their apparent willingness to throw away lives in hopeless attacks. Soon he would understand that humans preferred death to slavery. The final phase of the war was about to begin as a handful of brave souls prepared to challenge an empire that had ruled the galaxy for thousands of years. Success seemed impossible, but humanity had already proven that impossible things could happen when people refused to accept defeat. The final battle began when Captain Jake Morrison's assault fleet emerged from hyperspace near the industrial moons of Kethvar Prime. His 500 ships looked pitiful compared to the 5,000 Zephyrian vessels defending the capital world, but Morrison had not come here to win a traditional battle. His job was to create enough chaos for Kate Sullivan's infiltration team to reach their target, all ships attack pattern Omega, Morrison commanded, as his fleet scattered toward different objectives. Converted human cargo ships rammed into orbital factories while fighter squadrons dove straight into the cores of defense platforms. The attacks seemed suicidal because they were, but each sacrifice bought precious time. Engineer Kate Sullivan watched the battle unfold from her disguised Zephyrian patrol ship as she approached the planet's surface. The diversion was working perfectly, as enemy commanders focused on the obvious threat while ignoring routine traffic. Her two companion vessels carried Taurian computer specialists and the virus program that Dr. Carter had developed. Emperor Zarthek observed the human assault from his throne room aboard the super dreadnought Eternal Dominion. He was impressed by their courage but puzzled by their tactics. "These humans fight like they want to die," he told his advisors. "Do they think martyrdom will somehow grant them victory?" "Perhaps they hope to inspire other species to rebel," suggested one of his commanders. "Several worlds have reported uprisings since news of their previous victory spread." Zarthek dismissed such concerns with a wave of his hand. "Let them inspire whom they will. After today, there will be no humans left alive to serve as examples." Back on Earth, Admiral Frank Turner was implementing the most desperate plan in human military history. Space habitats throughout the solar system had been converted into kinetic weapons aimed at the approaching Imperial fleet. Mining asteroids were rigged with rocket engines, while even luxury space stations became missiles loaded with nuclear warheads. "Launch sequence initiating," reported Turner's tactical officer. "All platforms ready for final strike." The first wave of improvised weapons began accelerating toward the edge of the solar system, where Zarthek's main fleet would soon arrive. Turner knew the Emperor would bring at least 10,000 ships to ensure complete victory. Humanity's makeshift missiles might destroy a few hundred vessels, but could not stop such overwhelming force. On Kethvar Prime, Sullivan's team had reached the entrance to the hierarchy's central facility. The building looked like a massive pyramid, made of black metal stretching deep underground. Security was incredibly tight with automated defenses and patrol units checking every visitor. Sullivan's disguise as Imperial maintenance personnel barely held up under scrutiny. Silthara, the Kalari navigator, used her knowledge of Zephyrian protocols to guide them through multiple security checkpoints. The alien guards were suspicious of maintenance teams working during a battle, but Sullivan's forged orders appeared authentic. They descended through level after level toward the AI core. Dr. Lisa Carter monitored the mission from her science ship, in orbit around a distant moon. She watched Morrison's fleet being systematically destroyed while tracking Sullivan's progress through intercepted communications. The timing had to be perfect, or the entire plan would fail. "Kate's team is at level 47. Carter reported to Admiral Turner over long-range communications. "Morrison is keeping the defenders busy, but he's lost 3/4 of his ships." Turner felt grief for the brave souls dying in space above Kethvar Prime, but he could not let their sacrifice be meaningless. "How much longer does Sullivan need?" "At least 20 minutes to upload the virus and escape," Carter replied. I don't think Morrison can hold out that long. Meanwhile, Jake Morrison was fighting the battle of his life as Zephyrian reinforcements converged on his position. The Horizon had been destroyed hours ago, and Morrison now commanded a badly damaged cruiser held together by emergency repairs. Most of his fleet was gone, but the survivors continued their desperate assault. All remaining ships concentrate on the main defense grid, Morrison ordered. We need to keep their attention away from the planet's surface. Commander Elena Vasquez led the last squadron of human fighters in a suicidal attack on Emperor Zarthek's flagship. Her small ships could not penetrate the massive vessel's defenses, but they died trying while broadcasting messages of defiance that inspired other resistance fighters across the galaxy. Deep underground, Sullivan's team finally reached the hierarchy's central core. The chamber was enormous, containing millions of processing units connected by streams of energy. At the center stood a massive crystal structure that pulsed with alien intelligence. This was the brain that had controlled the Zephyrian Empire for thousands of years. Beginning upload sequence, announced the Taurian computer specialist as he connected their equipment to the main data stream. Virus insertion will take 15 minutes. Sullivan watched the progress indicators while monitoring security alerts. Imperial guards were starting to investigate the unusual maintenance activity, but had not yet realized what was happening. She knew they only had minutes before discovery, back in space. Morrison's fleet had been reduced to a handful of damaged ships, but they continued fighting with desperate courage. The captain himself was badly wounded, but refused medical attention, while enemy fire rained down around him. He would not give up while Sullivan still needed time. "Kate, this is Jake," Morrison called over their private communication channel. "I don't know how much longer we can hold them. Whatever you're going to do, better do it fast." "Almost finished," Sullivan replied as the upload progress reached 90%. Just a few more minutes, security alarms suddenly began blaring throughout the facility as Zephyrian guards discovered the infiltration. Sullivan's team found themselves surrounded by heavily armed aliens, but the Taurian specialist continued working frantically to complete the upload. Dr. Carter watched in horror as Morrison's last ships were destroyed one by one. The brave captain was still alive but trapped aboard a burning vessel with no hope of escape. "Jake, get out of there," she pleaded over the radio negative. Morrison replied calmly, "I'm going to ram the nearest command ship. Make sure Kate knows how proud we all are." Morrison's final act was to crash his dying ship into a Zephyrian heavy cruiser, taking both vessels out in a massive explosion. His sacrifice bought Sullivan the last few minutes she needed to complete. "The virus upload complete," announced the Taurian specialist just as enemy soldiers broke down the chamber doors. "The eternal hierarchy is infected." Sullivan and her team fought their way back to the surface as chaos erupted throughout the facility. The virus was already spreading through the AI network, causing systems to malfunction across the Empire. Communication. Links failed, supply shipments stopped, and fleet coordination collapsed. Emperor Zarthek felt his throne room shudder as the Eternal Dominion lost power and artificial gravity. Emergency lights flickered while his advisors tried desperately to understand what was happening. Reports flooded in from across the Empire describing similar failures on every major world. "The hierarchy is offline," reported his chief technician. "All automated systems are failing simultaneously." Zarthek finally understood what the humans had accomplished. "They poisoned our most sacred creation," he whispered in disbelief. "How is such a thing possible?" The Emperor's shock turned to rage as he realized his empire was collapsing around him. Without the hierarchy to coordinate operations, individual fleet commanders were making independent decisions while subject worlds began declaring independence. The carefully maintained order of millennia was dissolving into chaos on Earth. Admiral Turner watched enemy fleets arriving at the solar system, but something was wrong with their formation. Zephyrian ships were scattered and uncoordinated as if their commanders could not communicate with each other. Turner's kinetic weapons struck the confused enemy vessels with devastating effect. The empire that had ruled the galaxy for thousands of years was tearing itself apart as the virus spread through every connected system. Species that had been enslaved for generations rose up against their oppressors, while Zephyrian fleets found themselves isolated and surrounded. 5 years later, Commander Elena Vasquez stood before the newly formed Galactic Congress as Earth's first ambassador. The Great Hall contained representatives from hundreds of species, including former Zephyrian subjects who now governed themselves as free peoples. Today, we remember the heroes who died to bring us freedom, Elena said, addressing the assembled delegates. Captain Jake Morrison, Dr. Lisa Carter, Engineer Kate Sullivan, and thousands of others who proved that tyranny could not stand against united courage. The galaxy had been transformed by humanity's sacrifice. The Zephyrian Empire had fragmented into dozens of smaller nations while new alliances formed based on cooperation rather than conquest. Children of every species learned about the humans who refused to surrender even when facing impossible odds. Throughout the known worlds, the story was told of how one small species had challenged an ancient empire and won not through superior technology, but through determination, innovation, and the willingness to die for freedom. Humanity had become legend among the stars, not because they were the strongest or smartest, but because they never gave up hope even in the darkest hour.